then yeah, go ahead and send me the link, and I'll
Sounds good.
get it sent to the instructor.
Sweet.
All right, welcome everyone.
Hi.
Hope you've had a good week so far. Let's see. Let's get to the agenda. All right. Who would like to be the volunteer for the opening prayer? Both of the case studies. Was everyone able to?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Spiritual thought. Anyone want to give a spiritual thought? You don't have to if you don't want to, but if you feel so inclined, you can. All right. I'll take that as a no. All right. Recording. Got that done. All right. Yieldex. So Yieldex. That one was the one. Let's see.
That was with Doug.
Doug. That's right. Doug. Good old Doug.
I
All
kept
right.
reading the one guy's name instead of Washington. So
I know. I did the same thing. All right. He starts the company, and he needs some investors for some cash. All right. We need to vote. Should Doug accept the turn offer? So that was what, $2 million in cash and $2 million in stock options, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So let's vote on it. Kevin? Do you think he should accept it or reject it?
This was a tough one for me because $2 million in cash, as well as additional icing on the cake, $2 million of stock options. It's probably just going to increase for the next 10 years or whatever. Seems like a pretty sweet deal to me.
Right.
I did work out some numbers that maybe would suggest you would make, considerably more with not taking the deal. But I got to say that I think I would probably take the deal if I was him. So that's where I landed on that.
All right. Perfect. Tasha, what do you got?
I don't think he should take the turn deal.
Okay.
I like pointed out, I mean, the numbers that I was able to come up with were more than the 2 million. I mean, he's not going to get it right away or anything, but I definitely, I think 2 million is a little low for what his potential could be for the company.
Right.
I mean, even if, I didn't work out like different options with like the 50% side of it with, I think it was Shields, but like he's still going to make more. And so it's kind of one of those things where like the payoff right now isn't worth waiting. Like, it's worth waiting for. Good things are worth waiting for. And so I feel like he just needs to be patient and have a little bit of confidence in his own company. It kind of feels like at some points that he's not real confident. I think mainly because he doesn't see himself as a CEO, but that doesn't mean that this company couldn't be profitable for him and be a good option. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally agree. No, very valid points. Okay. So we have a no for Tasha. What about you, Bennett?
I think he should take it just because he stated that he had worked with him in the past and felt very comfortable working with him, and the fact that he could get the money now, I think you can, first off, it's a safer option, and he feels more comfortable with it. And what you can do with $2 million, just investing it in other opportunities, I think he could turn that money around with more security than continuing on with the company.
Yeah, absolutely. Very valid as well. Pros and cons to both sides for sure. Has anyone read the rest of the agenda, specifically the B case and the C case? Anyone?
I have not. I did not read.
I didn't know those were there. I just saw them and commented on it.
That's actually perfect. I cheated and read them ahead of time, and they will change your answers probably. It kind of gives a follow up of what actually happened. My vote would probably be in the immediate now. I would say to probably take the money and the stock options. I agree with Kevin that $2 million in stock can be worth a lot more in 5 to 10 years. And it's the same thing with if you continue with ownership of your current company, but with giving up 50% to the Shield guy and other investors, you're going to be not losing money, but losing potential money with those deals as well. But okay, absolutely. Let's continue on here. Where are we? All right, so number 2, discuss the following as a group. How much money will Doug receive? As a group, realize that it is likely that nobody had a fully correct answer to this question. Here are some hints. Since half of the buyout offers is in cash, you need to treat it as a cash sale and give the investor 2 times their investment in cash. So you do have to pay back the investors in cash 2 times the amount. So that's going to eat into that $2 million. Since half of the buyout offer is in preferred stock, you need to treat that portion of the buyout as stock and give investors 25% of the proceeds from the preferred shares. So that's even more money that he has to give away. Doug's payout is whatever is left over after paying back his investors, both the cash and stock. So if he were to have accepted the $2 million and $2 million, I wonder how much he would actually be getting back after he's paid off all his debts.
Yeah. So
what do you think? Like, it was 50% of it gone?
What's that?
How much do you think?
I think each of the investors get $100,000.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So I think it was $100,000 each investor, but it's
okay.
times 2 now, so I think that's $600,000 total.
Yeah. Correct. That he loses off the top of that $2 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then half of it is the portion of buyout, so I can give the 25% of the proceeds from the preferred stock. So 25% of the $2 million.
Give investors 25% of the proceeds from the preferred shares.
Well, whoops, I didn't want to do that.
That's 25%. So that still leaves him with $1.5 million for the preferred stock.
Yeah. And then he's got, 1.4 from the cash?
Left over. Yeah.
So it's 2.1.
So does that change? Does that change any of your minds?
Sorry, I'm trying to work.
How do you get $1 million? Okay, hold on.
Because 25% of $2 million is only $500,000.
Okay, so as a group, they receive 25%, not individually.
That's what it sounded like. The investors, plural. It sounded like it was as a group. I interpreted it as a group. I'm not sure if that was the correct.
No, that's because it says the angels investors will receive approximately 25% of the shares. Yeah, so they're a group at that point when it's talking about it. Okay.
Sounds like it.
So that would be $1.5 million. Yeah. Sorry. I was trying to make it more complicated than it needed to be.
So the current value of it would be 2.9 million. It's 1.4 and 1.5.
Okay.
So that's 2.9. And the 1.5 of that, considering what Turn might do with their stock, with their company, especially with the, this inflection point where hopefully they take this new product and use it wisely. So it could be that 1.5 I'm saying could potentially 10x or something like that. It could whatever.
Right. For sure.
So, but currently I think it's 2.5.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
My issue with that thought process is Doug flat out admits that he doesn't view himself as a businessman. He doesn't understand that side of things, and so I don't know. I kind of have a gut feeling that he'd blow the money. I don't feel like he would invest it in wisely. I feel like it would be.
It's possible.
A lot of it would be blown initially, because you'd have to have very good self-restraint to not, if you got a windfall of almost $3 million, to not do anything.
Well, then I think there's a flip side of that too. Is if he doesn't view himself as a businessman, a CEO, is he going to run the company effectively? Is he going to make the right choices for the company, leading his stock to not be worth as much? The company to be not worth as much. So is it better to give his company in the hands of somebody else and then hope that 1.5 in the stock is going to be worth more later on?
Well, but he's planning on bringing on Shields to be the CEO because Shields has that experience to be a business and being a businessman.
But isn't he still the CFO or CTO?
He's the CTO, which is
CTO.
He doesn't really make decisions. He's kind of the
technology.
CEO and the CTO below him. He's still up there, but he's not the pyramid.
I don't know. I think you can
just the one in charge of
somebody else to invest. You don't necessarily have to be a good businessman to be able to invest things.
Yeah, but if you invest in something super high risk that fails because you don't understand how things work, or you don't consult with somebody else, or they give you a bad investment deal, you've just lost everything, and now you're square zero rather than 10 where you were at when you have the company.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, but
it's very possible too.
In the same way, I think that could happen. If he doesn't take the deal, maybe it works out better for him, and he has $20 million to lose, and then he loses that. So,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, this is entertaining and fun because I've already read ahead, so I know what happens at the end of the case. So, this is awesome. I love this. Okay, yeah, perfect points. Let me get back. Let's see. Doug's payout is whatever's left over. Yes. All right. How much does Shields deserve? Why does Washing want Doug to reject the turn offer? Won't Washing get a pretty good return on his investment? Why hold out for more? How much does Washing give up if Doug gives Shields 50% of the equity? All right. So what's everyone's vote on Shields?
What was the whole package?
So this is if he doesn't take the turn deal but sticks it out, right?
Correct. And there was 50% of the stock and co-founder.
Yeah, so 50% right away. Partners, right? Okay.
Yep. Absolutely.
So I know Shields is taking a pay cut by coming over, but I don't necessarily agree that he deserves to be considered a co-founder and have 40% or 50%, maybe a 60-40. Isn't it still something? But I don't think he deserves a 50-50.
Okay.
So
what do you think, Kevin or Bennett?
I put about the same kind of an idea. I didn't necessarily articulate exactly one way or the other, but I kind of said, I think a 50% deal would be effective at making the company go forward. It's going to give Shields that ownership stake in the company that's going to hopefully make it progress and make it progress at a faster rate or even farther than if they were to say split less than 50-50 for him, and he's like, hey, I'm a venture capitalist. I've already got a successfully acquired startup. You know, I don't really need to be here, and, you know, that kind of a deal. But at the same time, I also said that it's obviously in Cosmin's best interest to make that split not be 50-50, so he can not dilute his equity in the company. And I think that's a balancing act that he has to play out through this negotiation process. He needs to, you know, see how big of a turnoff that would be for Shields if they didn't split 50-50, you know? Because otherwise he's got to find a new CEO, and somebody like Shields, who has so much, you know, he already has so much knowledge in the product, in the space, you're not going to find anybody like that, you know, who's capable of being the CEO, who knows already the whole backstory and technicalities of what's going on. So, you know, you're not going to find a better CEO. So is that worth 50%? You know, I don't know.
I think that,
and plus the other, go ahead, Bennett.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, and plus the other investors were vouching for Shields and was trying to convince them to hire him. So I think that plays into it too.
Yeah, I just think it comes down to how bad he really wants him. Like, if he doesn't feel like he's a good businessman and Shields is the best person to run the company, it's worth the extra 10% to make sure the company does well. So I think, and it seems like everyone puts their faith in Shields. So in my opinion, I think it's worth the 50-50, especially with somebody like, I don't want to assume that Shields has an ego, but it seems like he does. And that 50-50 seems important. You know, it's not just like 10% more, it's half of. He wants half of the company.
Right.
So I think, you know, if 40% lost him Shields, or even 45% lost him Shields, I think it's worth going the 50-50 to keep somebody with his like resume as the CEO.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Absolutely. Can Doug use the turn offer to his advantage if he rejects it? So essentially, can he use it against Shields? Is what it sounds like to me.
That seems like a petty thing to do. You're an adult. You're not 4.
I think one of the things that the turn offer does is it actually offers some real world valuation to the company, you know, to the whole deal. Even if it is less than what it could be potentially in the future, it's at least somewhere to say, or, you know, a starting point to say, hey, look, I've already got somebody willing to offer me basically $4 million for this thing, you know, and that could at least give him some weight in the negotiation to say, hey, look, this is a real deal. You know, if you want to go in on it, if you want to be 50-50, you know, I don't know, work out the terms where Shields understands that there is a lot of potential in the company. So I don't know if it would be like used as a club over Shields necessarily. I don't think that's a good idea, but, you know, at least giving it some gravity.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it could also be used as like, hey, I don't want to say like him accepting that offer isn't necessarily selling out, but like he can come and say, hey, you know, I'm invested in this company. I want to move forward with this company and make it successful. I had this offer and I declined it because I think that this company can be a great thing. It could be used as a motivator. Kind of like, hey, I know I believe in this company enough to not cash out.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about it like that.
That is a valid point. Way to go, Bennett. Good job. All right. So what everyone's been waiting for. Does everyone have the discussion agenda pulled up on their computer, or is it just me?
Yeah, I just pulled it up at the beginning, so I haven't read through it, but.
Okay. So we're now at the number 3 where it says read the B case. All right, it is a page and a half. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you just want to take paragraphs?
Sounds good.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, everyone, be patient with me. I'm not the fastest of readers, so here we go. It was December 2007, and YieldX CEO Tom Shields was driving to the company's Boulder, Colorado office to meet his co-founder, Doug Kosman. Since becoming the CEO of YieldX in October 2007, Shields commuted from the Bay Area to meet with Kosman and the engineering team on a weekly basis. Kosman almost sold YieldX for $4 million in September 2007, but after an agonizing internal debate, he decided to forego the quick exit and hire Shields to help him pursue additional financing and grow the fledgling company. Shields and Kosman had been negotiating an equity split when the unexpected offer came in, and they were close to an agreement in which Shields hoped to receive 50% of the pre-Series A common shares. Shields had pressed Kosman to turn down the offer, but that came with a price to Shields. He ultimately agreed to take 40% of the common, while Kosman held on to the remaining 60%. Kosman then sold 20% of his common back to the company to take out some cash. Both Shields and Kosman were diluted in the Series A round that closed several days after Shields joined the company. Sequel Venture Partners led the round with a $2 million investment, and they were joined by first round capital of $500,000 and angel investors that converted their seed note into Series A shares and invested additional money. The pre-money valuation of the Series A was $4.9 million.
I'll read next.
Next.
I got it. When Shields joined as CEO, Kosman became the company's chief technology officer, reporting to Shields. Kosman explained, "I was not interested in leading a team of engineers on a day-to-day basis, but I wanted to be the technical leader of the company." Kosman had converted the 3 contractors to full-time employment and hired 2 more in the last few months, and both he and Shields thought they needed to be led by an experienced vice president of engineering. Shields met with several candidates for the VPE position during November, and he quickly realized that he and Kosman had different perspectives on the qualifications of the ideal candidate. Kosman preferred someone with deep technical experience in internet advertising software who would immediately understand how this technology related to systems already in use in the industry. In fact, he hoped to promote one of the YieldX employees who had been working with Kosman on the YieldX solution over the last year and had previously been a team lead. Shields, however, preferred deep management experience of software development projects. In small companies, he was comfortable hiring someone who had not worked in internet advertising, as long as the individual had a track record of managing high productivity startup teams to achieve aggressive development milestone.
I read the next one.
Thank you.
Shields knew that the issue would come. Hang on, can I make this a little bit bigger? There we go. Okay, Shields knew that the issue would come to a head this week. He had recently met a Boulder-based candidate, John Barr, who came highly recommended from Sequel partner Tom Washing. Barr had a strong track record with multiple successful startups. He had been the CTO at his last 2 companies, but he was willing to join YieldX as the VPE, also reporting to Shields. Shields believed Barr was a good fit, and he was ready to hire him. But Kosman was troubled by Barr's unfamiliarity with several of the key components of the YieldX solution. He wondered how Barr could manage a software platform that he didn't fully understand. Kosman was also concerned that Barr seemed to be questioning the skills and output of some of the employees that he had hired.
As Shields pulled up to the YieldX offices, he thought about the implications of hiring Barr against Kosman's wishes. He was comforted by Washing's support of Barr, as he knew that Cosman respected Washing's perspective. Nevertheless, he wondered how Cosman and Barr would interact as the two leaders of the Boulder office, and also how it would work when the 5 engineers that Cosman hired began to report to Barr. Shields knew that this group would have to work closely together in Boulder while he jump-started the sales and marketing efforts of the company out of the Bay Area. Cosman architected the YieldX software, and Barr would need his support to manage the team effectively. Shields respected Cosman's desire to keep looking at other candidates, but he needed to fill the position so he could refocus his own efforts, and he was impressed with Barr's credentials.
All right. Let's see. Let me pull up the questions. All right. Should Tom hire Barr? Yes or no? What do you guys think?
That's a touchy one for sure.
Yeah. It really is.
It's like, I mean, it's Cosman's baby, and this could definitely make some waves.
But Cosman isn't willing. It doesn't feel like Cosman's really willing to negotiate with Shields at all. It feels like he's purposefully not. I don't feel like he's wanting to make it work. You know, Cosman, these other engineers that he's brought on, I'm sure he's had to teach them something about the software. Like, if it's revolutionary, like they're saying, they've had to educate somebody. Why is it okay to educate that person and not someone else who has managerial experience? Because that's something we definitely know that Cosman lacks, and we definitely need. I feel like he would be a little more flexible in this matter, at least. I don't know that hiring him behind his back is the best option, though.
Yeah, that's another great point. I mean, I think you're exactly right. If Shields approaches this in the right way, I think, you know, if he said something to Cosman like what you just said, and if Barr is as good as he seems to be, I think it could all work out, you know?
Yeah.
I would say he shouldn't, just to keep tensions out of the company.
But tensions are already there because Shields, I mean, how many other, it doesn't say, but it says that he's interviewed several candidates for this position, and they've all been dismissed because Cosman doesn't agree that they're what he wants. And I think both of them definitely need to reevaluate and come to a middle ground on things and find a way to compromise with it, rather than both of them staying on their own end of the spectrum. They need to come a little closer and give, because right now they're already making it awkward for people, and there is that tension. Like, you can feel it, where Shields is already wondering, like, I'm just going to hire him behind his back. Like, that's not a good attitude to have.
Yeah.
There's already that tension, and it's going to make it worse if he does it, but they need to have a conversation.
Yeah, it's a tough one. My personal opinion would probably be to hire Barr, just because it's very, very common. I would say more often than not, managers or directors or VPs, they actually don't have very much experience in that specific field. They just have great leadership qualities and management experience, and they just learn and adapt as they go along, which is what Barr does, or will have to do. Also, Shields has 40% of the company originally, and Cosman had 60%, but then he sold 20% of it, so he has 40% left over. And then Shields is CEO, so it's weird, but technically Shields is the top dog now. He owns the same amount as Cosman, and he's the CEO, so and co-founder. So I think when push comes to shove, he's the one that makes the final choice.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's interesting because Cosman, even though he came up with this and might understand it better than anyone else, like it's already out there, and Cosman kind of, I mean, I hate to say it, but like he's kind of old news, like I don't know how much more work they need to do on this whole thing and how much Cosman is, how much he's providing and all that. Probably quite a bit, but at the same time, could they take what's already there, market it, bring it out and make money on it and expand it by hiring other people and whatever. So just because Cosman came up with it, that's a good point that, he's kind of not the top dog anymore, even though it's his baby. So he feels like he is.
Of course.
He feels like it's his, but at some point, he's going to have to make that separation. And it's not
and it's terrible too. It stinks, but it's just the decision that he's made. Unfortunately, it's his own fault. All right, so we've already discussed number 5 for the most part: company culture, leadership, team, and investor relationships. So let's get to the juicy part. Read case C. I'll just go ahead and do it. It's super short. This is an email. 6 months later, email from John Barr, VP of Engineering, to Tom Shields, CEO. Tom, Doug continues to be disruptive. His salary is $175,000. He holds the title of CTO, which I should have. Ooh. His team wasn't functional and has been replaced. At the board meeting today, do the right thing for the company. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I don't like that because that to me feels like Shields hired Barr to just get over that issue and move on to the next thing, which was the marketing and sales and things, which I get. But Shields didn't necessarily do the right thing either, and so I'm sure by Shields doing that and going behind his back and hiring Barr, Doug got mad. And so Doug threw a temper tantrum, and his team decided, well, we're not going to like Barr either. So then they lost their jobs because they weren't working right. But feels like that one decision cascaded into a huge blow up. And it sounds like Barr is mad that he wasn't CTO. So he really wasn't okay coming over as a VPE.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. So should Tom fire Doug? That's the overall question now. What do you guys think?
My personal. Okay.
I was going to say, one question I would have is, where is the patent on this? Because if Doug still has the patent under his name, not the company's, Doug still owns the technology. So even if you get rid of Doug, Doug can take the technology and you can't make it.
I'm sure all the intellectual property is with the company, though.
Maybe. I mean, it's just a question that I would have.
Yeah, like, it doesn't.
Even if they fire him,
it doesn't say Doug specifically.
But I mean, I don't know how,
it does say in the rest. In the rest of the question, it says, well, what does Doug bring to the company now that they have his algorithm?
Okay, so no, he doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I hate to say it. I would say yes, fire him. It's a tough decision, but and I would guess that Shields probably didn't handle it well. Barr probably didn't handle it well. It's unfortunate, but where are you going to go from here? Like, are they going to actually patch things up to a point where it's going to be beneficial and profitable, more profitable than just cutting the limb off that needs to be cut off and then rebuilding and growing from there? Sometimes the medicine is bitter, but it's got to be taken. That's where I would stand.
Yeah. Yeah.
I personally don't think that.
What do you think, Bennett?
He should fire him. That's my personal opinion. I think it's better in general for the company to, I don't know, save face, as bad as that like kind of sounds, but if they have all the engineers who Doug, handpicked and got them all going and did all that stuff, unless you're planning on firing all of them, a lot of them might have loyalties to Doug, might not feel good about this whole change of everything. And it does kind of looks really bad on Shield's part because the guy he hired behind Doug's back replaced Doug. So it looks like, at least from an employee standpoint, that was the plan all along. Then there's a whole lot of distrust in Tom. So I don't know necessarily. I don't know if he needs a new title and a new like realm of authority of like what his job should be, and maybe expand. Shoot, I forgot his name. Oh, Barr. They expand Barr's kind of realm of authority so he can actually do what he needs to do. But I don't necessarily think getting rid of Doug is the best decision.
Well, but the whole team has been replaced, and that's what it said in that case C, is that his team wasn't functional and has been replaced. And I think it's due to the fact that they hired Barr behind Doug's back, and so Doug poisoned his team against Barr, and so his team wasn't going to perform for Barr. But it also sounds like Barr is title and money hungry. So I don't know that Barr is a good option either, because this is kind of a very vicious email to be writing. And my question is has Doug been talked to? Has he had, they're called personal improvement plans, but has he been put on one like, hey, your attitude needs to improve or there's going to be consequences? Like, and I know that's stuff that happens for typically lower level employees, but if
I thought it said the team needed to be replaced. I didn't know they had been replaced.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like firing a founder is kind of a bad move in general for a company.
None of it was done right.
That's hard. Yeah, it's a tough one. I would kind of mix all your answers together. I would not have Cosman do what he's doing now. It's obviously not working as well with Barr and that whole team. And he does cost a lot of money if he's not bringing too much to the table, if he's not a great manager. I might relieve him of his duties, but even if you fire him, he's still a co-founder. He's still a part owner of the company. Doesn't mean that he goes away. He still has his say. I would just try and maybe, I don't know, figure something else out. And maybe let him, as a CEO, as Shields, maybe you let him make the decision to step down so that he can save face with the rest of the company instead of being fired. I don't know.
I would add to that, I think that's wise. I think what Cosman needs, if I was Shields, I would try to give Cosman a problem to solve. That's what that guy needs. He needs the next thing that YieldX is going to be working on. So like put him in charge of like R&D or start your own department with your own engineers, go and try and do the next thing and get out of our way while we run this other side of the company or something like that. And then he'd probably be happy about that. He'd probably like that. He probably doesn't want to be the CEO anyway because you got to deal with too many people and, go from there.
Right. And then it would also alleviate the $170,000 that he gets paid, that the company would be able to save that money or roll part of it over to Barr, because I assume he would probably be promoted. But they'd be saving some money.
Right.
Anyone have anything else to add to it? guys good?
Quite the pickle.
I know, right? All right, so let's try and speed things up here. It's almost been an hour. Home plate. So the next case study. Share with the group what your answers were to the questions presented in the home plate case study. If there are any discrepancies, blah, blah, blah. If y'all got the same answers, discuss the process you took to get those. I don't remember what the questions were. Let's see. Does anyone want to give a 2-minute recap of the case?
So basically, Lexi does like this food, like meals, like gourmet meals that are pre-made for you, and then basically she's invested $1,000 of her own money and given herself 100,000 shares of the company, and then she has an angel investor who's willing to invest $50,000, 50 cents a share, as well as a capital firm that's interested in investing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Then she also researched convertible debt to see if she should do that instead of just selling the stock to the investors.
That's perfect. Thank you. So I guess the main question that I have now is that convertible debt. She offers the convertible debt option to the angel investor. Do you think that's a fair deal? Do you think that it should be accepted?
Yeah, I think that the convertible debt deal is a good deal for her and for the investor both. I think it works out where she gets the money that she needs, but they get to, they're not worried about how many shares they're going to, the angel's going to get and all of that higher level stuff, because their company's like essentially really small,
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a good deal.
Yeah,
I agree.
I said the same thing, that the convertible debt was a valid option.
So is there a downside to it? Is there a reason not to do it? What do you guys think?
I remember hearing in the video that essentially the investor would want the lowest valuation, because then they would get the highest percentage of the company based on the amount of money that they put in. So I don't know that that's a huge downside here, because I don't know that the angel is really involved that much in the company at all. So I don't think they can hinder the size necessarily as much as other companies might. So I don't know that that's too big of a deal, but it is a consideration that she should think about.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good point. Okay. All right. Let's see if there's anything else in that. Is there another question that you guys want to talk about in this case? I feel like that was one of the main ones.
Mm-hmm.
I was interested in what you guys got on question 4. Was the only one that I was curious about. Let me try and share my screen.
Okay.
Somehow. There we go. Maybe. Did it work?
Yeah.
Yes. Looks good to me.
All right. So question 4 right here. This is the table that I worked out for the convertible debt.
Okay.
The problem I had, all of this, like 250 was a given number, 300,000 was a given number, 225 is 10%
10%.
up to 250, and then 50,000 was a given number. But the only one, as I started to work through the table, the only one I wasn't sure of was none of these worked out that you knew what percentage of the company, Lexi had or the investors had necessarily until you knew like what Lexi had. And so I put in this $100,000 right here, or 100,000 shares, sorry, so that we could work out the percentages of the company. But the only weird thing about that is as I was reading, it says, hint, no equity is issued during the seed round. Is that, do you guys see right here where it says that? Is that the 100,000 shares? Like, if we don't have what she started with, we can't give her any percentage of the company with the data that is in the question. Am I reading that right?
I thought so. The way I read it was the seed round was when she started with that $1,000, and then when her angel investor came in, that was like first round. I mean, it wasn't necessarily round A, but it wasn't the initial. I did it the way you did it, so I don't. Now I'm questioning it though because I didn't.
So did you do? So how I was reading that was the $1,000. So did you put in like total investment $1,000 here, and then total shares 100,000 here, and then that would work out to
her price per share, yeah.
a penny per share or something.
$100 a share. Or no, yeah, a penny. By the way.
Penny.
But I don't know what it. Hold on, the professor, or not professor, teacher. He wrote something because someone else I think was confused. What did hers say? Glad. Lexi's initial price per share is a penny because she invested $1,000 and received 100,000 shares. In other rounds, the investors get fewer shares per dollars invested, showing that the value of the company is increasing and her original are increasing. Okay, so that doesn't help with the seed question.
So the way that I interpreted it was that so she decides to start the company. She does obviously investing in her own company. And then when a person looks for seed money is when they start the first round of investments. So I personally did include the 100,000 shares and the penny and the $1,000 in the table.
Yeah, so
whether that is accurate or properly interpreted, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so that makes sense to me. It was the 100,000 shares. We just need to know how many shares she actually has, right? To know how much ownership stake she has. So what?
I think that they're making assumptions from the previous questions.
Right.
I think.
That's how I calculated it out.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know. It was definitely confusing. There was a little bit. I mean, I think they're doing that on purpose to make you kind of assume. Sorry, to assume a few things, but
you have to assume those other things because then that second bullet point of the convertible debt carried a 0% interest rate. You have to include those shares. You have to include it all.
Okay, say that one to me one more time. I didn't get it. Hang on. Try again.
So in the second one, they're saying the convertible debt carried. She got the convertible debt because she issued shares. So I don't think that shared round was the 100,000 shares. So I think we did it right.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, that was the only thing that I was curious about.
Does anyone else have any other questions about it?
I thought it was pretty simple.
Yeah.
Like, it was straightforward. It was more straightforward than some of the other ones.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. All right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. To take time to give your summary of your votes and final decisions and thoughts. I guess at the end of the case now, does anyone want to change their mind about the Yieldex case study? About whether or not he should sell?
I mean, I still think he should sell. Especially knowing that he's going to get almost ousted.
Kevin?
Yeah. Well, especially knowing that, yeah, I would definitely agree. I still think that, even if it's 2.9 instead of 4 million in the end or whatever, I still think it's a very strong offer. And yeah, I think he should probably sell. And he could, if he sells, he can still work on it with the other guy, whatever the other guy's name was. But he'll have stepped back a little bit already once he sells and does that. So maybe that would even be better for him in the end. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking with selling.
Tasha?
Yeah, so he's just going to get fired anyway, so you might as well just take the money and keep out.
There you go. And
after reading like the Discord and just like, I don't know, I could feel the tension after reading the B case and the C part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out. I tap out, I'm out.
Yeah, he honestly sounds like a really, 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 like almost like a genius level guy, because there's been that the issue that invention or the algorithm solves was a common issue throughout the industry, and he was able to create it and come up with it. So if he can just use his mind to start another company, and then he can make a pretty good profit if he just invents things or comes up things that he can patent and then sell. He can do that over and over again, especially with all that money he has now. So I think he should sell as well. All right. So is everyone good? Everyone good to wrap up? Cool. Everyone got my Google Doc from yesterday? Perfect. I am going to be busy Saturday evening. So if you guys can have your portions of the document ready by like 5 o'clock, is that possible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No problem.
You guys all good with that? Okay. And we're still gonna be doing it the exact same way. We're all gonna do the entire all the questions, and then I'll just combine them and get the best, most accurate paper.
Yeah, I think he said that it needs to be 1,500 to 2,000. So maybe we can add a little bit more than we normally do.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Cool.
That works.
Solid.
That works.